156 days still new HODLER. Crypto fear and greed index is at 27%, which is pretty fair, and current Bitcoin price is at 42.1k. Today episode would be about comparison of a previous cycle to the current cycle, Bitcoin cycle, bear bull, both of them, of a 17-18 to the current 21 cycle of a Bitcoin. So majority of people that are saying that the bottom, if you're gonna compare the all-time high and the bottom of a bear cycle on the previous 2018, there would be minus 80% move without adjustment. Again, blindly, if you're gonna look at the price action movement blindly without no adjustment, would be minus 80. If you're gonna compare to the previous one, it would be all-time high 65k, and the same percentage-wise downtrend would be bottom at the 12k. Again, those things without adjustment, and pretty it is being if you're gonna look at that thing pretty blindly. But why I think adjustment for this price is very important, because if you're gonna look at the previous, for example, bottom of a pullback in the majority of a bear cycle that was there, that we created a pretty high support there, it was minus 70% move from all-time high to the 6k roughly. It was minus 70%, and the current support that we created, it was minus 55%, even less, which was roughly 29.5k support. So pretty much minus 55% is the same minus 70% of this and the previous bear market support of a pullback that we created during the pullback that we created is the same with the adjustment. Because, for example, if you're gonna look at the market cap, and again, you don't need to be the smartest human being in the world to understand that the bigger market cap, the harder this thing to move. It's just a heavy market cap to move. We had on the previous all-time high, we had a $330 billion in a market cap, and again, it's a previous market cap top in 2017 that we created at the end of the 2017, and since that day we added to the new all-time high $870 billion, which was the $1.2 trillion top of a market cap of the current all-time high. That's literally 870 billion was added since the previous and the current all-time high, which is literally 2.5x of a previous all-time high till the current one, which is again the bigger market cap, the harder this thing to move. Even if you're gonna compare to some very traditional assets like some stocks, if you're gonna look just in general without percentage-wise comparisons, you're gonna look at this thing like, for example, this drop on Apple at the at the end of in the September of a previous year was pretty volatile and pretty huge. But if you're gonna compare to the previous one, previous price drops of Apple when it was not the $2.5 trillion market cap, you're gonna see percentage-wise is like nothing, like, because this drop was minus 25%, and obviously it's looking so huge comparison to the previous one, but in a way of percentage-wise, it's much smaller, because again, the bigger market cap, we had almost 2x on the market cap of Apple since the drop that we had at the end of the 18. And obviously, if you're gonna look at the just some like, there's like minus 31% out of nowhere, how volatile this thing was. But with the current market cap that is so heavy right now, it's literally nothing. These drops that is looking so huge is literally nothing in a percentage-wise comparison to the previous ones. So that's why I think, again, the bigger market cap, the harder this thing to move. Plus, if you're gonna compare, there's so many other adjustments that you should do to the previous bears, to the previous cycle and the current one, like perspective of a Bitcoin. In a 1718, it was very short-termish perspective. It was promoted. It was promoted by the influencers. It was promoted by the media, like some again some short-termish thing that you can make money on. But current promotion of a Bitcoin is completely different. It is insanely long-termish. It is very educational in a way of how it's being promoted in just media in general, from everywhere you see Bitcoin. Plus, if you remember 2018, you remember watching all of these channels like CNBC, Fox, CNN, whatever the news you were watching, all of these random billionaires just coming to the show and yelling, "Oh, this thing goes to the zero," like out of nowhere, just like that, just for fun. They were yelling at this thing just for fun. Literally, it was like hundreds of them just coming to random show. The most hilarious part was them saying, "I don't care," saying this thing goes to the zero, and then they were leaving the show. So the whole point, they just came to the show to say this thing goes to zero, to say that you don't care, then they were leaving. So I'm kind of I don't think it can be defined as "I don't care," but whatever. And obviously right now, if you're gonna see some billionaire coming to the to the CNBC, for example, and saying, "Oh, this thing goes to the zero," that guy about to be cancelled literally by which again, I don't think it is a pretty nice thing to cancel somebody. It sounds like a communism, to be honest, but you get the point. You would look like not the smartest in the room if you're gonna say this thing goes to the zero. So yeah, and also a lot of people was using the word Ponzi scheme back in the days. Now the same people are using word asset. How dramatically, how big of a change was in the perspective of a Bitcoin since that previous cycle. And again, you need to add those adjustments to the current cycle if you're gonna compare to the previous one. There's other adjustments like adoption, in a way of, obviously it is pretty hard to say what type of adoption is, like in a way of percentage wise, how many people percentage wise in the world know about Bitcoin, and I think it doesn't make that big of a difference. I think adoption in a way of diversity of hodlers, the more hodlers, I mean the more diversity in the hodlers, the more we got smaller, how do you say it? Yeah, the more diversity of the hodlers, like we got countries, we got just retail, we got asset management, we got corporation, we got exchanges that is buying Bitcoins just to have liquidity, much better liquidity. We got companies that again has nothing, that is not a hedge funds or asset management. They are just buying again Bitcoin to have liquidity for to sell product, or like for example Tesla, who were trying to sell cars for a Bitcoin, and obviously to do those things you need to have some small liquidity at least. So because of that you need to buy. So it is like this type of diversity of who is hodling, how many diversity in a way of percentage of hodlers. You get the point. You get the point. So you get to add this thing to the adjustment of comparison to the previous cycle to the current cycle. Oh my god. So yeah, I think again, I think minus 80% that we had in the previous cycle would be the same 30 or even 27k. 27k if you're gonna have a support broken. And again, it's not that pretty far away, 27k, as the bottom of over this current cycle. Oh Jesus, I got tired of talking. And also, if you're gonna compare to the time frames of confirmation of a bottom and the all-time high, it took literally the year 365 days to create the bottom. Since the confirmation of all-time high and the confirmation of the bottom, it took 365 years, and currently we are halfway done. If you're gonna again just add the current time frame to the previous time frame of the full bear cycle to the current one, it would be just, yeah, we gotta wait like 7 months roughly for the confirmation if we can compare the time frames. So we kind of halfway done in that thing. So I don't think 6-7 months to wait. It is pretty hard. And again, since we are having such a huge hodlers, and we are talking about like corporation, they can hodl for years, and for them it's like a blink of an eye to wait a couple of years for new all-time high. So since we are having such a huge hodlers in a Bitcoin, I think it's not the plus perspective is so long-termish. I think it's not that hard to wait a couple of months. Come on. So yeah, it's that's my, and again, that's fully my perspective. It doesn't mean it's so accurate. It doesn't mean it should be viewed as something that is a fact or something that should be considered as a financial advice. But you get the point. You get the point that comparison should be done not blindly, and you should add adjustments to the previous cycle and the current cycle when you are saying some stuff like, oh, it's gonna drop to the 12k or stuff like that. It is percentage wise, it's the same percentage wise price drop, yep, but in a way of adjustment is completely different. And market cap, if you're thinking you can move 300 billion market cap the same way that you're gonna, you can, if you think that you can move 1.2 trillion market cap the same way you moved 300 billion, I don't think it is possible to literally to move the same way that it was moved before. And again, it's much heavier market cap, it's much heavier to move it. So there is that. Jesus, I'm tired of talking about this adjustment and using this word adjustment. That's a key word of this episode. But you get the point. What I'm trying to say. Obviously, in a general picture, is still looking great for the Bitcoin. And since we all here long term, I think Bitcoin is looking perfect for us. And also, I think a lot of people also saying that why they putting 100k PT on the current Bitcoin cycle, that is going to be 100k PT in the next couple of months, which is in this year, which is in the next 3 months, because of comparison. Again, I feel like it is another if it feels like another blind comparison to the previous cycle, blind percentage wise comparison to the previous cycle, because again, you need to add another $1 trillion to have the 100k, and then what's next? If you're gonna have like $2.5 trillion market cap on a Bitcoin, we're gonna have another cycle. And people are gonna yell, why we are not having another plus 5-6 trillion to the Bitcoin? Because again, the higher market cap, the higher this thing to move. Doesn't matter in which way, downtrend or uptrend. So to the upside or to the downside. So just also don't forget about adjustments everywhere. Don't forget about adjustments. And again, the bigger market cap, the higher this thing to move, in my opinion, obviously. Or at least if you're gonna compare to the Apple or some other very big asset historically. And again, you're gonna look, this thing looks like an insanely huge drop, but again, it looks just like insanely huge drop, but it's literally 2 times smaller than we had in the previous cycle. So yeah, long term DCA to the moon. Let's go.